Okay, guys, let's go over the study guide. As soon as I get my pen turned on, I'm going to start by reminding you of some basics, thinking of like steps, how to solve this. Okay, step one, you're going to identify parts. Okay, that means you're going to identify the angle, not the right angle, but there will be at least one other angle that's labeled in each question. You're also going to identify the hypotenuse. You're going to identify the opposite leg. And you're going to identify the adjacent leg. Okay? You will always have this, but of these three things, you will have two of them. Okay? One of these things won't be in each picture. The second thing that you do is you pick your trig. Okay? So if you have an angle and you have the opposite leg and you have the hypotenuse, you're going to do sine, because sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. If you have an angle and you have the adjacent leg and you have the hypotenuse, you're going to choose cosine. And then if you have tangent, or if you have the angle and it's the opposite leg and the adjacent leg and you don't have the hypotenuse, then you're going to pick tangent. The third thing that you do is you're going to plug everything in. Okay? You can plug everything in. So you'll have an angle, an opposite hypotenuse, right? All those things. You plug it all in, and then the last thing you do is solve. Okay? All right, so let's try some questions. Okay, and this first one here. Now this one we won't have an angle. In fact, let me go back here. I forgot these were in here. The other thing that you need to know how to do is, what if you have sides, all sides? Almost forgot this, right? Any right triangle, the two sides that are next to the right angle are the legs. This is the hypotenuse, leg squared, plus the other leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Almost forgot about that one. All right, let's try that again. All right, so the first question, we have all sides, no angle, right? These two angles are missing, so you know it's going to be a squared, b squared, c squared. So the hypotenuse, because my right angle is here, is 34. So I'm going to go x squared plus 21 squared equals 34 squared. I'm going to grab my calculator. 34 squared is 1156. 21 squared is 441. So x squared plus this. Since the x squared is with this, I need to get rid of that 441, so I'm going to subtract it. Okay, so I get x squared equals 1156 minus 441 is 715. And then to get my answer, I have to square root both sides, and I get x equals the square root of 715 is 26.7. And that's my answer to this one. We'll do the same thing. Notice we have sides. We don't have any angles listed. The two little angles are not listed. So we know it's going to be 9 and 15 are the two legs. 9 squared is 81. 15 plus 15 squared, I think, is, I don't remember, 225. 15 squared. Yeah, 225. Notice the numbers are on the same side with each other with an addition sign between them, so we add them, right? 81 plus 225 is 306. And then to solve this, we do the square root of both sides, and we get x equals square root of 306. 17.49, so we'll put 17.5. Okay, next one. Solve for x. Okay, equilateral triangle means all the sides are the same. So if this is 24, this is 24, this bottom is 24. Half of 24 is 12. So there we have our right triangle. So we're going to go x squared plus 12 squared equals 24 squared. So x squared plus 12 squared is 144. 24 squared, excuse me, 576. Subtract 144 from both sides, right? So I'm going to go minus 144, minus 144. 576 minus 144 is 432. Take the square root of both sides, and we get square root of 432. 20.78, which would be 20.8. Next one, same idea, equilateral triangle 42. That means this is 42. That means this whole side down here is 42. Half of 42 is 21. So there's our triangle. Okay. So x squared plus 21 squared equals 42 squared. 42 squared is 1764. 21 squared is 441. Equals x squared plus, subtract 441. And we get x squared equals 1764 minus 441 is 1323. Take the square root. Oop, wow. Square root of 1323. $36.37, which would be 36.4. West Falls is 7 miles south of Edenville. So West Falls, here's West Falls. It's 7 miles south, south is down, of Edenville. Edenville, West Falls. And Concord is 13 miles west of West Falls. West, east would be this way, west would be this way. 30 miles west. Concord is 30 miles west. What's the distance from Edenville to Concord? So it's 7 miles south, 13 miles west. I didn't draw that very good. Find this. So 7 squared plus 13 squared equals x squared. 7 squared is 49. 13 squared is 169. So we got 49 plus 169 equals x squared. These are added together. We get 218. Take the square root of both sides. The square root of 218 is 14.76, which would be 14.8. Danville is 18 miles east of Ogden. Danville is 18 miles east of Ogden. Here's Ogden. Danville, 18 miles. Georgetown is 11 miles south of Danville. Georgetown. What is the distance from Ogden to Georgetown? Right, this is 11 miles, and we don't know the distance right there, so we're going to do 18 squared plus 11 squared equals x squared. 18 squared is 324, plus 11 squared is 121. 324 plus 121 is 445. And take the square root of both sides. Square root of 445 is 21.09, which would be 21.1. Classifying the triangle. First, we got to figure out, is it a triangle? Okay, so the two smaller numbers have to be bigger than the bigger number. So 11 plus 13 is 24. So 11 plus 13 is 24. It's not bigger than 25. So this is not a triangle. We don't have to do anything else. Okay. Next one, let's see here. 12 plus 13 is 25. That is bigger than 20, so it is a triangle. Now we got to figure out if it's right, obtuse, or acute. So we'll take the two smaller ones, 12 squared, 13 squared, and we're going to see how it relates to the 20 squared. 12 squared plus 13 squared. 12 squared is 144. 13 squared is 169. Add those together, we get 313. And this 20 squared is 400. So it's not equal, which means it's not right. It's not a right triangle. This one is bigger than this, which makes it obtuse. So that when this one by itself is bigger, it's obtuse. See, 21 plus 28 is 49. That is bigger than 35, so it is a triangle, so we can get rid of that option. 21 squared plus 28 squared, and then 35 squared. 21 squared plus 28 squared is 1,225. 35 squared is also 1,225. It's equal, so it is a right triangle. 14 plus 16 is 30. 30 is bigger than 18, so it is a triangle. We can get rid of that option. 14 squared plus 16 squared, and then 18 squared. Let's see here. 14 squared plus 16 squared is 452. 18 squared is 324. So this one that's over here should be equal, but it's smaller. Smaller makes it acute. 9 plus 15 would be 24. That's bigger than 17, so it is a triangle. 9 squared plus 15 squared, and then 17 squared. 9 squared plus 15 squared is 306. 17 squared is 289. All right, so this other side here is not equal. It's smaller. That's acute. 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 equals 11. That is not a triangle. Don't have to do anything else. All right, now we're ready for our trig stuff. Let's see here. We have our angle right here. This 13 is on the opposite side of the triangle from that angle. The x is the hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse is sine. Sine of the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. When the x is in the denominator, we have a shortcut where these trade places. So the x is here. The sine 32 goes down here. And this is literally what you're going to type into your calculator. 13 divided by sine 32 equals. And we get 24.53, so 24.5. Next one, angles right here. This 9 is adjacent to it. The 13 is on the opposite side. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. Tangent of the angle equals the opposite, 13, over the adjacent 9. When you're finding the angle, that's where you do what's called the inverse tangent, which means you're going to hit the second key and then your tangent key to get that, and then 13 divided by 9 equals. So second key, tangent key, 13 divided by 9 is 55.3. Okay. Next one, 57 degrees. Okay, there's my angle. This is right next to it. It's adjacent. This is also next to it, but it's called the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. Cosine of the angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. When the x is in the numerator, we multiply both sides. We get 19 times cosine 57 equals x. 19 times cosine 57 is 10.34 or 10.3. Next one, we got our angle. This is the opposite side of the triangle. This is right next to it. It's adjacent. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. Tangent of the angle equals the opposite over the adjacent. Again, we're finding the angle. We do the inverse second button, right? Tan -1, 36 divided by 25 Second key, tangent key, 36 divided by 25 equals 55.22, so 55.2. All right, solving for a triangle means you're going to treat this like three separate questions, okay? Here's my angle. This is my adjacent. This is my opposite. This is my hypotenuse. Now, each time, so you're going to start by just solving for the x, ignore the y. Then you solve for the y and ignore the x. And then you look and see what else is missing. So let's start with the x and ignore the y. If I start with the x, I ignore the y, I pretend like it doesn't exist, right? So you're just going to ignore it, right? You're going to go, oh, this doesn't exist at all, right? That's what you're going to do. Okay, so you're going to ignore that. You have the opposite and adjacent is tangent. So you'll say tangent of the angle equals the opposite over the adjacent, right? I'm ignoring the y entirely. Opposite and adjacent. X is in the numerator, so we multiply. So we get 16 times tangent 24 equals x. 16 times tangent 24. 7.12 or 7.1. So that's this side here. X is, right? This is the x, right? ML. So we got 7.1. Now we're going to look at the other, right? We'll look at the y and ignore the x. So we're going to ignore this. If we ignore the x, that's the opposite. All I have is the adjacent and the hypotenuse. That's cosine. Cosine of the angle equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The variable's in the denominator, which means we do our shortcut. 16 over cosine 24. Okay. And so we do 16 divided by cosine 24. And we get 17.51 or 17.5. So that is the y. So we get 17.5. Okay. All right. The last thing that we have, right, if this is 24, okay, we go, well, the only other thing that's missing is this other angle. Well, the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So if this is 90 and this is 24, you can just subtract, right? You can go 180 minus that 90 is 90. Then subtract that 24. It's, let's see here, 66 degrees. So this angle here would be 66. So there'd be one easy one. You do your trig to find two, and then you do the easy one. Okay? Let's try this one here. Let's see here. We've got the angle. Again, we're going to ignore either the x or the y. So if I ignore the y, I've got the adjacent, and I have the opposite, right? If I ignore the y. Okay? So adjacent and opposite is tangent. So I'll do the tangent of the angle equals the opposite over the adjacent. X is in the denominator, so we do our shortcut. 30 divided by tangent 21 is 78.15 or 78.2. So the x, which was this one right here, 78.2. Now we look at the y and ignore the x. Okay? So if we look at the y is the hypotenuse. We have 30. We have opposite and hypotenuse. That's sine. Sine of 21 equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Again, the variable's in the denominator. We do our shortcut. 30 divided by sine 21. So 30 divided by the sine of 21 is 83.7. Okay? Then the last one we have here is angle M. We'll do the same thing. 180 minus the 90 that's in there is 90. Subtract the angle that I know, 21, be 69 degrees. Let's see how many more questions we got. No, we're about done. All right. Roof props the ladder against the wall. So you got a wall, you got a ladder. Okay. Ladder reaches a 30-foot roof, so up the side of the house, 30 feet up. Needs repair of the angle of elevation from the bottom of the ladder to the roof is 55. How far is the ladder from the base of the wall? There we go. So here's our angle. This is the adjacent. Here's the opposite. That's tangent. Tangent of the angle equals the opposite over the adjacent. We'll use our shortcut. We get x equals 30 divided by tangent 55. 30 divided by the tangent of 55 equals 21.00, so 21. And since this is an actual measurement, feet. Dog is looking at a squirrel in a tree. Squirrel's 10 feet away from the dog. Dog, squirrel, tree, ground. Dog is looking up at an angle of elevation of 65 degrees. Looking up to see that squirrel. The squirrel is 10 feet away from the dog. If the dog is looking up at an angle, okay. How far is the squirrel from the base of the tree? The squirrel from the base of the tree. Okay, that's what it's looking for. So we got our angle. We have the so it'd be tangent again, right? Opposite and adjacent. Tangent, 65. And we're being interrupted by the bell. I just double checked my answer key. I think the 10 is actually asking about. I think the 10, it says the squirrel's 10 feet away from the dog. So if the squirrel's here and the dog's here, the 10 feet actually goes there, not down there. That means that we have the opposite in the hypotenuse, which is sine. So change that. Sine of 65 equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by 10. So 10 times sine 65. And we get 9.06, which is 9.1 feet. Okay. All right, next question. Now this one it's got the picture drawn for you already. See what it's asking for. It says, how far is the dolphin from Fred's binoculars? Fred's binoculars. So this is where my X goes. Now, depending on how you want to do it, you could do it this way. I've been in my class going like this and making my right triangle here and saying, okay, if 4 and 5, that'd be 29. So 29 would go there. I have my angle. I've got the 29. I've got the side I'm trying to find right here. So that's the triangle I'm going to use. Okay. From this angle, 29 is the opposite. X is the hypotenuse. That is sine. Sine of 30 equals the opposite, 29, over the hypotenuse of x. It's in the denominator, so we'll use our shortcut. 29 divided by the sine of 30 is 58. Okay? And this might be our last question. Is this our last question? No, last one. Sarah's, same basic question. How far is the boat from Sarah's binoculars? Same question. X is there. Okay, so that means we drop our line down. 32, right? 15, so it'd be sine of 15 equals opposite over hypotenuse. It's in the denominator. We use our shortcut. 32 divided by sine 15. 123.63, so 123.6. And that's our answer to that one. Now, I will confess I did this very, very quickly. So if there's anything wrong, I apologize in advance, but I'm pretty sure I did not make a mistake. But if I did, I'm sorry. But I did this to try to help you out. Hopefully all these match up with the answer. I didn't make any mistakes.